On November 18th of 2023, I had an experience with flying that would change my perspective forever. I landed an airplane with broken landing gear, and I walked away completely unscathed, as well as my student. So on that night, it was about 10 o'clock p.m., I was doing a commercial cross-country flight in the Piper Seminole 2002, and we were doing the 300 nautical mile cross-country, and we had just landed at Monroe, Louisiana for our first stop. After that, we do a full stop taxi back, and then we proceed over to Longview, Texas, East Tex Regional Airport. As we were on our way there, the regional approach frequency, as soon as we get on with them, they have closed for the night. Once it's 10 p.m., then they are officially shut down, as well as the tower frequency too. So by the time that we landed at Longview Airport, the tower had been closed, and now we are talking with the CTAF frequency. Now, with this was just going to be a routine landing, and we were actually planning on refueling before heading back to our home airport. And the night was very calm. The weather was really good, clear skies, no issues whatsoever. And when my student was getting set up to land on runway 31, we had a very stabilized approach. The landing gear was down and locked. We had 3 green lights. In case any of y'all don't know what that means, 3 green lights mean that the gear is down and it is locked. And we verified with the mirror, everything is down, everything's looking good. Approach is stable, good airspeed, and my student landed pretty normally, no issues at all with the landing. Now, as we were slowing down, out of nowhere, the right gear just completely snapped, and the entire airplane comes crashing down on its right side, and sparks were flying across, and the propeller got struck against the concrete pavement, and I had to take quick action there. So I immediately took the controls, and I cut off the mixtures, and I applied a very, very hard left rudder to keep the airplane on the runway. Now, despite applying rudder pressure, the airplane still skewed to the right side quite a bit, and the tip of the wing, once we came to a complete stop, was hovering over the grass, but the airplane itself didn't actually end up off of the runway, which is excellent. So now here we are, stuck into the middle of the runway at night, and the tower's closed. So that is a really, really scary thing to think about. And I was definitely worried at that moment too. Now, me being a very brand new flight instructor at that time, I've never dealt with anything like this before. In fact, most people haven't, and I hope that nobody ever does deal with anything like this. So first thing I do is I call the chief instructor at my flight school. He tells me what to do and how to approach this situation properly. Now, as I'm on the phone with him, I see a police car driving over our way. There is a sheriff's office at that airport, which was really handy. So he came, drove all the way over to us, and he actually helped us out. Now, I should say, before he came over and before we exited the plane, I did make a call to the common traffic advisory frequency telling everyone what had happened. Now, there was only one person in the pattern doing night landings there, but he acknowledged what we said, and we wanted to make sure that nobody was going to land on that runway because that would make something already bad much worse. So from the sheriff's office, the police car comes over, and he asks us for our pilot certificate and our medical certificate and our photo IDs. That was the first time I was actually ever asked to provide that information to somebody. We give that information over, and then as we are discussing everything, I'm also assessing the damage that had potentially happened to the airplane. So what I'm about to show you here are some photos of the damage to the plane. So with this first photo here, you can see that the plane is tilted over to its right side, it's leaning over, and you can kind of see that it's leaning over the grass as well. Now, on the second picture, you can see that the propeller has been struck there, so that's what a prop strike looks like. You can see it's very stiff, and then at the very tip of the propeller, it's coiled and bent over. Now, the third picture I have here is the picture of the strut itself, the point of where it had snapped, and the airplane, while it was slowing down, was riding on that strut the whole time. Now, during this situation, they also called in the airport manager to help us out too. And I've already been on the phone with not only the chief, but the owner of the flight school too, trying to discuss everything that we wanted to do with the airplane. So About an hour we were on the runway trying to figure everything out, the logistics of everything, and exactly how we want to get the plane off the runway and what the plan was there. So once we were finished with everything there, the police officer takes my student and I and drives us back over to the sheriff's office and helps us get a taxi secured to a nearby hotel. I should say that throughout this whole experience, my body's like physically shaking the whole time, as well as my student. We were really stressed out during this whole thing because number one, we never dealt with it. And number two, we don't know what kind of potential repercussions or consequences we would face in the future because of it or anything of that nature. So after waiting like an hour for the taxi, we finally get there and they take us over to the hotel. And my student and I, we just completely collapsed on our beds right on top of them and we just pass out. And we wake up the next morning and I get a call from somebody from the local FSDO office. And this gentleman was very, very polite, and he was a really good guy to work with. As we were on the phone, he said, "Hey, I heard what happened. I'm really sorry to hear about this whole situation. And all I need from you, if you could, is just give me a report on everything that happened in your point of view." So I did that. I got that all set up, and a few days later, I sent it over to him. There was no issue of that at all, and I didn't really hear back from them since. Now, the next morning after I get the call, I head back to the airport, and the chief instructor, the owner, the head of maintenance, and then the assistant chief, all four of them, they fly over to Longview Airport to pick us up and to also take a look at what had happened to the airplane. So as you can see here, this is a poor quality picture, but I have it zoomed in. They have the airplane suspended on a little crane while it's being wheeled slowly off the runway. Now, once they got back with the plane and they got it onto the ramp of the airport, they went up to me and the head of maintenance looked at me and said, "I cannot believe you pulled something like this off." He said, "There is no damage to the wing, the flaps, or the fuselage. They did not even make contact with the ground, not even rubbed it." I could not believe that part. I thought I was going to get fired, or I thought I was about to cost the company a $600,000 airplane. And I was really, really worried about that. And the fact that it was fixable was probably the biggest relief I've ever imagined there. And then when I asked them, "Do you know what happened? What happened to the plane? Was there something that went wrong there?" And he said that it was metal fatigue, something that is almost impossible to detect. So that was the cause of the incident. But it's interesting because of how nobody has ever warned about these things. Anything or any kind of event like this comes when we least expect it. And so always being ready for anything like this is crucial for safety as a pilot. And I am beyond thankful that my student and I didn't get hurt and that there were no big consequences or anything negative that happened that impacted our careers. And to this day, the Piper Seminole is still flying again. So this is my story of how I landed an airplane with broken gear and walked away no harm and no irreversible damage to the airplane. So thank you very much for listening, and I hope you all take care, and let's take flight.